Hey, what's up guys? Last week, Paul talked about how a song just gets stuck in our head on repeat. And it kind of reminds me, every time I'm scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, there's those trending audios. And video after video after video is the same exact audio over and over again. And the same exact thing happens with our thoughts. We get one negative thought in our mind and it just kind of goes on repeat and repeat. There was a time in my life when I felt like I was at my lowest point. I was 30 years old, college dropout, struggling with work and living at the in-laws with a newborn. Like, it doesn't get worse than that, right? And throughout this whole process, I kept trying to apply for jobs and no one was hiring me. I was trying to build my own business, it wasn't growing. And the negative thoughts that kept going through my head was just, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I should have done things better in my life, or I need to build better relationships with people. But nothing was working. And for me, it was work. For you, it might be sports. Maybe you're trying to be on the first string with your team and you just seem like you're doing everything you can, it just doesn't seem to be working. Or maybe you're trying to get a better grade in the class and you're studying hard and it's just not working out for you. And so you may be thinking the same thing. Like, maybe I am not enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not athletic enough. The question is what is that blank for you? And then we think, if only I could be cool enough or popular enough or smart enough, then all of these problems go away. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. So how do we stop these negative thoughts being on a loop in our mind? Jesus actually gives us this answer in Matthew. He says, "Aren't 2 sparrows sold for a small coin, but not one of them will fall onto the ground without your Father knowing about it already? Even the hairs on your head are all counted. Don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows." Sparrows, or really just any bird, they're the tiniest creatures. There's so many of them, yet God still cares about them. And if He cares about the tiniest little sparrow, how do you think He cares about you? How much do you think He cares about you? Now, I know all of this sounds great in theory, right? Jesus is wonderful with His words. But how do we actually take a practical step in making these changes? There's actually 2 ways. The first step is you have to pay attention to when these negative loops start. And then you have to replace those negative thoughts with more positive ones. So going back to me not being good enough, not being smart enough, not really just being able to make enough money for my family, I realized for me, my biggest problem is that I kept asking God to do what I wanted Him to do. But then I decided to change my prayers to ask God what He wanted to do with me. And for some reason, the moment I started changing my prayers for that, I felt like it took out so much pressure on myself, because I knew God had a plan for me, just like He has a plan for the tiniest sparrows. As I began to pray that prayer, I quickly realized that I didn't have to become better, because in God's eyes, I was already good enough. I didn't have to become smarter, because I had all the knowledge that I already needed. I began to see that all of my negative thoughts wasn't reality. The thoughts of me not being smart enough to land the jobs that I wanted, God actually closed those doors because He already had a plan for me to grow my own business. For you, you may be struggling with comparison, maybe with a brother, sister, maybe another teammate, maybe just someone in your class. And you may just feel like you're not enough compared to them. But I'm here to tell you that God has a plan for you. He knows the hairs on your head. One way we could be reminded about this is through this song. It says, "Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it." So as you guys break down the groups, remember those words that God has made you in His workmanship and it is marvelous. And if God made you, then you are enough.